Anyway, it's not a right-left issue. It's a right-wrong issue. And America has constantly been on the side of what's right. Because when it comes down to it, this is about keeping faith with the idea of America. Because America's an idea, isn't it? I mean, Ireland's a great country, but it's not an idea. Great Britain's a great country. It's not an idea. That's how we see you around the world, as one of the greatest ideas in human history, right up there with the Renaissance, right up there with crop rotation and the Beatles' White Album. The idea, the American idea, is an idea. The idea is that you and me are created equal. It will ensure that an economic recession will not become an economic recession. The idea that life is not meant to be endured but enjoyed. The idea that if we have dignity, if we have justice, then leave it to us, we'll do the rest. This country was the first to claw its way out of darkness and put that on paper. And God love you for it, because these aren't just American ideas anymore. There's no copyright on them. You brought them into the world. It's a wide world now. I know Americans say they have a bit of the world in them, and you do. The family tree has lots of branches. But the thing is, the world has a bit of America in it too. These truths, your truths, they're self-evident in us.
Hayes. We are live here at MSNBC's Climate Change Presidential Forum from the campus of Georgetown University outside the McCourt School of Public Policy.
At its full flowering, freedom is the first principle of society. This society, Western society. Indeed, from Abraham to Plato, Aristotle to Aquinas, freedom is the animating principle of Western civilization. Freedom comes in many guises, in the noble words of the Declaration of Independence and in the noble souls of people like Sharansky. And yet, freedom cannot exist alone. And that's why the theme for your bicentennial is so very apt. Learning, faith, and freedom. Each reinforces the others, each makes the others possible. For what are they without each other?
In 1955, the laws of apartheid were operative in our country. Rosa Parks got on a bus, a sign above the driver's head read, "Colored seat from the rear, white seat from the front. Violators will be punished by law." One day she refused to surrender, and she was arrested. Dr. King, a 26-year-old student, went to her rescue. And other students went to his rescue. When young America stands up, America's always made better.
We remember so well that during the 60s, people were involved beyond self. It was the time when the students were involved in the anti-Vietnam War movement, when they came to the nation's capital with so many other persons and indicated quite clearly that 55,000 of the cream of the crop had been destroyed and that they did not want to send any more of our boys to Vietnam. And the legislators and the executive branch of government heard quite well.
When our founders declared America's independence, they invoked the self-evident truth that all men are created equal. Our Constitution was written to put the principles of a free and equal society into practice. It is a living document. It required amendment to make sure that promise was fulfilled. Amendments like the abolishment of slavery, the guarantee of equal protection, and the right to vote for all Americans. Dr. King called these documents America's great charters of freedom. And he continued to trust in their power even when the practice of America did not live up to their promise.
What Dr. King did, either in the letter or speech at the Lincoln Memorial or in so many other ways, he held up a mirror to America. And in that wonderful voice of his and with that beautiful cadence that he used so well, he just kept saying to America, read the founding documents. Read what we are all about. Read what we are trying to show to the rest of the world. And if you read it and you believe it, then our nation must change. Our nation has changed, and it's changed as a result of what Dr. King and so many hundreds and thousands of others did as they fought this second Civil War.
A lot of people think that the only change you could do that's meaningful is change that I do in the position I hold. It's pretty impressive sometimes when I get to write a really great opinion, or when I'm in the majority in a really great opinion. When I'm in the dissent, it's a little disappointing. But even then, I've been a voice in the conversation. Those big things impress a lot of people, but they're not things that matter to most people. It's those little things. It's the human companionship. It's the trying to make the community you live in a little bit better, a little bit happier. And so that's what I think public service is. It's the kind of public service that says to people, you don't have to be a politician. You can work in almost any endeavor you want and make a difference in people's lives by just giving some time and some effort to that enterprise.
Well, I know the commitment of the U.S. Afghan Women's Council and the women here who have founded programs across Afghanistan, that they want to continue. They will continue. I hope that there will also be, obviously, U.S. government participation as well. I think that's really important. And the international community as well has spent a lot of money, and I hope they'll continue a lot of the programs they've started. But I also want to encourage, especially the students at American University Afghanistan. After I heard Anita in her talk, I think it's very important for young people in Afghanistan to really start a youth movement, to get the word out before the elections about how important it is to vote and how important it is for all young people, boys and girls, young men and young women, to be involved in the future of their country.
Two days ago, we celebrated the 219th birthday of our democracy. The Declaration of Independence was also clearly a declaration of citizenship. All men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was also manifestly a declaration of citizenship in a different way. It was a declaration of interdependence. For the support of this declaration, With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The distinguished American historian Samuel Eliot Morison, in his History of the American People, wrote of these words, "These words are more revolutionary than anything written by Robespierre, Marx, or Lenin, more explosive than the atom, a continual challenge to ourselves, as well as an inspiration to the oppressed of all the world." What is the challenge to ourselves at the dawn of the 21st century?
Those who have brought change to our country did not win it by shutting down the other side. They won change the hard and only way that ensures that it will be lasting. They persisted against their adversaries until they persuaded the country that they should prevail. To be sure, sometimes the change makers had to pursue change using lawyers like you will become, and judges like many of Georgetown's many alumni. Even so, ultimately, change makers acting with vital help from the law must persuade the Democratic majority to accept change even when they have won it in court.
For us, we think it's crucially important that this museum, as John Hope Franklin told me time and time again, must tell the unvarnished truth. It must be a place where you are going to cry when you ponder the pain of slavery and segregation. It has to be a place that says America must confront itself, must realize who it once was so that it can become the nation it says it is in its stated ideals. For us, this museum had to be a place where people actually found the truth. But equally important, we had to help people understand that this museum was not a museum by Black people for Black people. That in essence, this is a museum that said, if you care about America, if you care about our ideals, if you care about our notions of spirituality, optimism, resiliency, this is the place for you.
I think fundamentally people want to do the right thing. I think people don't set out wanting to be selfish. I think people would like to see a society in which everybody has opportunity. I think that's true up and down the line, across the board. But they feel as if it's not possible. And there's noise out there, and there's arguments, and there's contention. And so people withdraw, and they restrict themselves to what can I do in my church, or what can I do in my community, and that's important. But our faith-based groups, I think, have the capacity to frame this, and nobody's shown that better than Pope Francis, who I think has been transformative just through the sincerity and insistence that he's had that this is vital to who we are. This is vital to following what Jesus Christ, our Savior, talked about.
So you must work hard. You have a moral obligation, a mission, and a mandate to get out there and leave this little piece of real estate, leave this little planet, leave this little spaceship a little greener, a little cleaner, and a little more peaceful for generation yet unborn. I didn't like what I saw. And Dr. King and Gandhi and Thoreau and others provided us a way out. Before any sit-in, before going on a freedom ride, before marching from Selma to Montgomery, we studied. You have studied. We prepared ourselves. We studied the philosophy and the discipline of nonviolence. And we became committed to the way of peace, the way of love, the way of nonviolence as a way of life, as a way of living. So I said to you as you leave here, never ever hate, for hate is too heavy a burden to bear. The way of love is a better way. You must get out there and lead. You must be headlights and not taillights. Yes, I did get arrested a few times. Yes, I was left bloody and unconscious, but I didn't give up. I didn't become bitter. If we want to see a nation, a world at peace with itself, then we must live peaceful lives. We don't need to spend more money, more of our limited resources on bombs, missiles, and guns. Use our resources to help those that have been left out and left behind. I tell you, in spite of all of the difficulties, I'm still hopeful, still optimistic. You must be hopeful, you must be optimistic, you must work hard, and you must be happy.